The company claimed connectivity issues because of big crowds at the festival. Then just a couple of days later, in the Tenderloin, a Cruise car collided with a fire truck. And that same week, the fire department says a pair of Cruise cars blocked its ambulance, delaying a patient from getting to the hospital. That person ended up dying at the hospital later. Now, Cruise refutes those claims.
Demonstrators gathered outside Cruise headquarters in San Francisco today. Demonstrators say the robo-taxi company is not only taking jobs, but making things more dangerous on city streets. Here's NBC Bay Area's Tom Jensen.
Again and again, the protesters pointed to an incident in mid-August where they say a Cruise car blocked an ambulance from getting to the hospital in time to save a patient. But they say that's just the tip of the iceberg.
The people of San Francisco, the workers of San Francisco have to take a stand now.
A very direct message as a self-described pro-labor leader of Marxist ideals led a demonstration outside Cruise headquarters today. They say the company's driverless taxis not only violate vehicle codes, but also aren't advanced enough to know when to pull over for responding emergency vehicles.
Every time they're on the road, they violate the law.
The speakers at this Labor Day protest also say the so-called robo workers and artificial intelligence are chipping away at jobs. And before we know it, they claim a flood of the high-tech human replacements will steal the jobs of the masses.
We're talking about millions, if not billions, of workers being displaced, not just here locally, but nationally and globally.
Cruise disputes the claims about its safety and says it has a strong record of supporting workers and labor unions. The company notes that local IBEW and SEIU unions install and maintain their charging systems in other facilities. And union carpenters and iron workers built their charging center. And as far as their driving records go, Cruise says their own data shows the automated taxis are safer than human drivers. Their numbers show 54% fewer collisions and 73% fewer crashes involving serious injuries. Although we have not been able to independently verify their numbers or get the control measures used to get them. Back on the labor front, protesters here also say they're not getting any help from either major political party, claiming both are essentially rubber stamping AI and automation's takeover of human jobs.
We need a workers' party, and that's why I hope that in San Francisco, we're going to start with one. And it's going to spread across the country.
You might have heard music playing in the background during that media event outside the Cruise headquarters, mostly circus music. That was actually being played by what looked like security guards on the other side of the fence. A Cruise spokesperson told us the company did not condone that, and it was stopped once they learned about it.
My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with United Front Committee for Labor Party, and also I produce Work Week, which is a labor show in San Francisco on KPOO radio. And we're having this Labor Day event here in San Francisco in front of the GM Cruise offices to show that what's going on with these remote autonomous cars is dangerous to the health and safety of the public. On the 14th, a pedestrian in San Francisco was seriously injured in an accident. And they were trying to get him to the hospital in the ambulance, and they were blocked by two robo-taxis. They stopped on the street. And the person bled to death, basically. When he arrived at General Hospital, he had passed. And what we're saying is, and the robo-taxi was not impounded. If you or I blocked an ambulance in San Francisco that was trying to reach somebody, we would be arrested. We would be arrested for blocking an ambulance. That's what the police do. Instead, what happened here is that they allowed this person to die, and robo-taxis, Cruise continues to operate with impunity. And we're saying there's a double standard. The governor of California, Governor Newsom, and his Public Utility Commission, and also the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is supposed to enforce the vehicular code in San Francisco, are refusing to do their job. I think they should be forced out. They should be impeached. Why is it that they're refusing to enforce the vehicular code in San Francisco? Are they above the law? Apparently. There's no exception to the vehicular code. However, Governor Newsom and Mayor London Breed are allowing that. And what we're saying is London Breed, the mayor, doesn't have to blame the governor. She could order the police to impound these robo-taxis because they're violating the law. Every time they're on the road, they violate the law. So why aren't they impounding these cars? What happened to those two robo-taxis that blocked an ambulance from picking up a seriously injured pedestrian? Nothing. The police can't even move them. The firefighters can't even move them. This is a deadly, serious, dangerous situation. And if we have an earthquake in San Francisco, and these cars will stop, as they did in North Beach when there was too much traffic on the cell phones, they'll stop and people will die. This is what we're talking. This is a life and death situation. And it's a prelude to what's happening with the introduction of AI in this country, because it's being introduced as the wild, wild west. Let it rip. That's the attitude that they have. Let it rip. And we're saying working people in San Francisco, around the country and the world, and the public need protection. They need to be protected, and right now they're getting no protection. In fact, Governor Newsom and Mayor London Breed have not said a word about the death of this pedestrian. Why? Why are they completely silent? You would think they'd be concerned when a pedestrian dies as a result of the road blockage by these Robo taxis, by Cruise Robo cars. They're not. And the reason is, in our view, is that they're controlled by the tech billionaires. Now, Mayor London Breed has said she wants San Francisco to be a AI capital. This is ground zero for AI. And we have no problems about technology and the use of technology. The question is, who is it going to benefit and who controls the technology? Right now, it's controlled by billionaires who only see dollar bills in front of them. And the reason is that they're using the technology to get rid of workers. And we're going to have some speakers talking about that, because they're getting rid of taxi drivers. They want to get rid of delivery workers. In healthcare, they're getting rid of nurses and doctors. They want to get rid of teachers and use this technology to get rid of people. And Goldman Sachs did a study. 350 million workers may lose their jobs in the United States and around the world. 350 million. That's a lot of workers. We're going to start off the rally actually by somebody who's been on strike, and one of the issues is AI. And it's the largest strike right now in the United States. They may be joined by auto workers on September the 15th who are also facing AI with electric automobiles. What's going to happen to their jobs? So welcome Michael X. Sommers from SAG AFTRA.
We have been on strike for a couple of months now, and we've been joining the workers, the writers, the WGA, I believe is the Writers Guild. And people want to know why. One of the issues is AI. Let me tell you how this works. Just to give an example, one of the things that happened to me was I was hired to do a show, to do one episode, and they ended up loving my character, and I ended up working for 3 years on this. Now, what could happen with AI is, because they can record my image and they can have my rights, they can say, well, thank you we'll pay you the 1 day, and the 3 years will be done by AI. They can capture the creation of this character and continue on with it without having to pay me. Another thing that is happening is people can be asked to do things without their consent. The example I always give is the sex scene. There was a sex scene on this very same show I was talking about, where they wanted a group sex scene, everybody to be in it. One of the actors objected, said, I'm from India. We have a very conservative, I have a next door girl next door characters that I play, and I just can't do this, or my career will collapse. The issue is AI could possibly do this without her consent, without my consent, without anybody's consent. The last big issue with AI with the actors are the background workers, the extras that you see in many of the scenes, the group scenes. They can easily be replaced. You can have an actor come in and they will photograph you with these cameras all around you. I was in a booth that they have with 100 plus cameras in it, taking photos from every angle, and this is so that they can generate your image. Exciting technology. Like Steve was saying, it can be a lot of fun, but we need to be able to control our own destiny. The background workers can get a half day's paid and then get replaced for the rest, not just of this project, but potentially, the concern is for the rest of their lives, because the studios potentially could own their image and have the ability to create big crowd scenes without their consent, without their knowledge even. I'm going to switch over to something that Steve said. Well, we're not against progress. Well, Steve is not, but I want to question it for a second. I just want us to talk about it. Whenever I'm with people, they say, well, hey, we're not against technology. We're not against progress. Well, can we at least talk about that for a second? I'm looking here in San Francisco and I'm seeing tent cities everywhere. I have to step over human feces to go to the store, which is about to get closed down because desperate people are stealing from this store, making it true that they can't keep their doors open. I'm not blaming the people in the tent cities. They are desperate for good reason. Why do we think we look at this clever labor-saving technology, and then we complain bitterly about unemployment? Can we at least talk about that for a second? Progress without having a say in it? It's like Steve said, it's the Wild West. Let's just proceed forward. Can we do it? Oh, great. Well, let's do it. Who cares if the Robo taxi stops in front of the car, in front of the ambulance, and we lose a life? It's technology. We've got to proceed forward. Well, why? For the benefit of whom? The billionaires, the machines themselves? I just want to talk about it. And with AI, it's something that everybody is going to be affected by. And we are being affected by it. And let's just take a moment and talk about it before we assume that the next technology is going to benefit something, anything. People? What is it benefiting? Let's just talk about it for a moment. Thanks for having me up here, Steve.
Thank you, Michael. And this issue of Labor Day and why we're here today, as I said earlier, 350 million workers' jobs are threatened. And we believe that San Francisco, which is ground central for AI, the people of San Francisco, the workers of San Francisco have to take a stand now, particularly before somebody is killed, because another person is going to die. How many people have to die before these cars are shut down, these robo taxis? How many people have to die? We have a question to Mayor London Breed and Gavin Newsom and the California Public Utility Commission and the Department of Motor Vehicles. When are you going to enforce the laws that are on the books? The laws are on the books to protect the people of San Francisco, the pedestrians and the people. Somebody has died as a result of the fact that the laws are not being enforced. We say that there's a double standard. The California Public Utility Commission members who were appointed by Governor Newsom, in fact, one of them was a Cruise lawyer. Can you imagine that? A commissioner on the California Public Utility Commission was a lawyer for Cruise, and he voted to allow Cruise to have these vehicles? I mean, talk about corruption and really a situation of total corruption. They're not doing their job, and he's voting. A Cruise lawyer is voting to allow these Cruise cars. So our next speaker is Brad Weidmeyer. He is also a healthcare worker, and he's been fighting also to protect the people of San Francisco. Welcome, Brad.
My name is Bradley Weidmeyer, and I'm a member of SEIU 2015. It's the Home Care Workers Union in the city and county. We're public workers. And I also am a member of Workers' Party Club San Francisco. And I want to talk about this development of AI. You know, it is the future, obviously, it's coming. But the thing is, there have been futures before. And the Industrial Revolution was quite dislocating. But a lot of the advances of the Industrial Revolution, look at what happened. They employed children in these factories. They weren't trained, people died. The problem is not the future, it's how in the present we apply the future. Whether the people have a say, whether they benefit, whether they're going to be displaced, and whether there's going to be something looking out for them. You know, and we see the 10 cities in San Francisco, so we know we're in a crisis. and AI will make the Industrial Revolution look like a picnic. This is what we're facing right now. 350 million people being displaced for good. That's what Goldman Sachs has said. That's more than the population of the United States. The world has to have a say in this. It can't just be like the industrialists in the Industrial Revolution. They did really good. We had new dukes. You know, our industrial leaders, they would marry off their daughters to the old nobility of Europe because they had the money and stuff. And truly, they were the new dukes. They were fantastically rich on the child labor and the exploitation of that technology. We don't need to go through that again. People suffered. We have allegedly a democracy, but unfortunately, the Democratic Party, and I mean, I won't even begin with the Republicans, they're, you know, but the Democratic Party runs this city and this state. And that's why we need a workers' party, because the CPUC was an outrage in its decision of not recusing itself and not looking at the questions of the AV. You know, there's a bunch of different companies doing this. Volkswagen and Ford said, we're not there yet with the basic technology and we're out of here because you can't do this. It doesn't work yet. And they're not doing it. But what about the people that are actually trying? It's not Cruise and Waymo. They were rated the worst, the most accidents, the worst and the third worst out of more than a dozen different companies. So why are we putting them on the streets first? The tech bros that put safety to the back seat are the ones that are in the front seat doing the driving for the Democratic Party, and we need to stop this. That's why we need a workers' party, and that's why I hope that in San Francisco, we're going to start with one. And it's going to spread across the country, because people have had it with just the corporate Democrats and their exploitation of technology, not for the benefit of the mass of people, but just for the profits of the new dukes. We don't need the tech bros to become the new dukes. Well, it's a little hard because the sexism in the tech industry means that they're not like the industrialists. Anyway, that's another story. But we've got to say no. And you know, the National Safety Transportation Authority or Administration hasn't summed up all the people that have died because of autonomous vehicles. How many people have been killed by Tesla? In Arizona, there was a Robo taxi that was, I believe, a ride-hailing, and the person was supposed to be watching, and we have the video of them not watching, and we have the video of the woman that was walking her bike who was killed by that vehicle. So all the baloney about the semi-autonomous vehicles is just garbage. People are being killed, and we don't have the total number. They're keeping it quiet. As Steve said, they're keeping it quiet about what's already happened of people dying because they were blocked by these vehicles in San Francisco. And that is not acceptable. We are not the guinea pigs of the tech industry.
Yeah. Right.
Our streets, we are a charter city of the state of California, and we have the ultimate authority over the administration of our streets and transportation.
Yes.
And all of those public workers who stood up, you know, the city wasn't just all for this. And it wasn't just one person. You know, they tried to make the police, the fire chief, oh, that was just one person. The fire chief, like, she got up one day and decided to go after AV. No, she has to administer fire emergency rescue. And we've seen 55 and more now times when they've been blocked. So she said this is not ready for prime time, and that if it goes ahead, we're going to have a catastrophe. Right. And in the lives of some people, we've had that catastrophe.
Right. Yep.
So, you know, and it was also all of the experts at the Metropolitan Transportation Authority were speaking out against this, and they were completely overridden. and silenced, and they were risking their jobs. You don't speak out against stuff in the city. You know, you line up the votes before, you figure out how things are going to be done when you're on commissions and stuff. I was a transportation commissioner for an advisory panel, and basically they only wanted us to hustle for the taxes increases, and you know, we do need money for transportation. But the big ideas and the real say is already decided behind the scenes, and what comes down to these meetings is already, the vote is already known, and most of the time it's unanimous. So it's like, it's time for us to like get beyond having unanimous delivery of policy. Yep. Let's hear the real story. Let's listen to the experts. Let's listen to the fire chief and say, no, not yet. Not until it's safe.
Right.
Thank you.
And as you can see, they're trying to make a little noise to disrupt our rally here. I guess they don't want people of San Francisco to hear about what's going on here because they have blood on their hands. Let's face it. This company has blood on their hands.
Yes, Cruise blood on their hands.
They have blood on their hands because somebody died as a result of their testing the technology on the people of San Francisco. It's criminal, in my view. As I said earlier, if somebody blocked an ambulance and somebody died as a result of that ambulance being blocked, they would be prosecuted criminally. And we're calling for this company, Cruise GM, to be prosecuted criminally. The DA should prosecute them. Somebody died as a result of their vehicles blocking the road. Who's being held responsible?
Nobody.
Who's being held responsible?
No one.
So our next speaker is Edward Escobar with the Alliance of Independent Workers. Welcome, Edward.
My name is Edward Escobar. I'm the founder of the Alliance for Independent Workers, the hashtag Drivers Unite movement. I am a professional driver. I've been a driver since 2014 in the Bay Area. I'm a San Francisco native, which means something because I've seen how tech has taken over. Once again, I want to reiterate how important the people understand that we are not against tech. We're against tech that benefits the few at the expense of the many. That is the serious problem that we're experiencing here. UC Berkeley released a study that 600,000 transport workers in California alone would be permanently displaced with this technology, with the rollout of the Robo taxis. Now, countrywide, we're looking at a good 3 to 4 million, and that's not even including the autonomous vehicles of the trucks. For the independent truckers, you're talking about 1.8 to 2 million drivers that their jobs are on the line. Now, this isn't a matter of retraining and reskilling these workers to take on other jobs, because automation, all you have to do is do a simple online search. You'll see how sophisticated it's become. Even janitors are being replaced by robo cleaners. They're very effective. They don't have to pay them benefits. There's no safety net for these workers. So they can work them 24/7. So you're talking about permanent displacement. People, this is the rollout of the new age of AI. You have AI automation. The tipping point is the self-driving vehicles. Now, Cruise robo-taxis have already expanded beyond. They're already in Seattle. They're already in Austin, Texas. They're already over in the East Coast and the Carolinas. They're spreading very quickly, and they're riding roughshod over society. Now, what are we looking at in the future of work? People have to discuss this because they're giving the keys away to the city to tech. We're not talking just regular tech. This is big tech, like big data. That's another issue people are not discussing, about big data being taken from the individuals that participate, and they're not given a fair exchange or made aware that their privacy as far as data is out the window. So there's another issue of the ethical dilemma. What is the vehicle to do to decide between killing an individual, killing a dog, hitting another vehicle, or hitting a post? And when it makes the wrong decision and someone is maimed or killed, who's going to be held liable for that? Who's going to go to jail? These items of grave importance are not even being discussed. Where's the impact studies? The city should have had impact studies. The CPUC should have impact studies. Any other vehicle, and I'm a driver, and I've had these vehicles stop in front of me. Let me tell you the disruption it causes on Van Ness and Market. Right there in the intersection, how it just stops. Now I have to maneuver around a vehicle, which can cause another accident, you see? So you're talking about disruption, and they take pride in being disruptors, right? Tech disruptors. Why don't we disrupt them back and tell them to do your job like anyone else? These vehicles don't even qualify to be on the road as a drunken student driver, because a drunken student driver would know you don't stop in the middle of the road. You don't just stop and abandon the vehicle, because these vehicles have no auditory sensors. They don't know that someone's honking at them. They just shut down. Now they're proposing that they want their own cell towers, because during the Outside Lands Festival, a number of them, 10 plus vehicles, just shut down on the streets because the cell towers were overwhelmed. Now what does that tell you about the technology? The San Francisco fire chief said herself, it's not ready for prime time. It's not ready for prime time. It's not ready for prime time. The city officials said also it's not ready. The police department says it's not ready. But yet John Reynolds, a commissioner who's managing legal counsel for Cruise, and because he left in 2019, he says enough time has passed. On top of that, the CPUC, they state that it's not their responsibility. They're saying that the DMV is responsible. They're saying that the NHTSA is responsible, the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration is responsible. Where's Pete Buttigieg, who heads the Department of Transportation? Where is he in all this? Because this is viral. It's not just here. Look at what happened to Uber. Look at that as an example how something virally extends and expands beyond San Francisco. The genie is out of the bottle, people, and we need to address this now. We need impact studies. We need to pull these vehicles, because we are not guinea pigs. They're having these human experiments on us. On top of that, when they're guilty, they do not disclose that information because they claim it's proprietary. The video that they have from the vehicle that was actually caused this accident, well, actually that delayed this pedestrian from getting to the hospital and then unfortunately passed away, they claim, Cruise claims that that's proprietary. Well, guess what? Every time that something's not convenient for tech, they claim it's proprietary, and then we don't have to disclose it to you. Because why? They think that they're above the law? Come on. They are not above the law. There's laws on the books right now that need to be enforced. And we need to say, not in our name. Not in our name. And say no to Robo taxis. They need to get their shit together. This is not acceptable here or anywhere else in this country, because it's going to go global. China's already doing it. And unfortunately, the Biden administration doesn't want to stifle innovation. They have tech meetings with the tech titans of Silicon Valley. The tech titans, and they ask them what we should do with the future. Well, isn't that like giving the hen house to the fox and saying you're in charge of it? And that's what they're doing. Where are the workers here? Today is the only Labor Day event on Labor Day in San Francisco. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing, ladies and gentlemen? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. So as a driver, as a worker, as a native San Franciscan, and a proud native of the Bay Area, people, we need to stand up together and say, si se puede. Yes, we can make a difference here. But together we stand in solidarity. Together, Labor Day 2023, let's make a difference. I'm Edward Escobar, hashtag Drivers Unite, founder of the Alliance for Independent Workers. Thank you for coming out.
And one of the things that, again, has not been addressed by the CPUC and particularly and Governor Newsom is the destruction of the taxi industry. They're getting rid of the taxi industry. And people, seniors, elderly, disabled, need taxi drivers. A remote vehicle is not going to help somebody out of their car. A remote vehicle is not going to help somebody with their packages. But apparently they don't give a damn if people who have disabilities or seniors don't have a taxi driver. Joining us is Mark Gruberg, and he's with Taxi Workers Alliance. Welcome, Mark.
Thank our friends behind the curtain here. These are the people who pretend to rule the future, trying to drown out this event. These are our future masters behind the curtain here. And there it goes. So most of this has been said, but this is about safety, and it's also about jobs. And AI may have a great future, but we humans need a future too.
That's right. We make them. They don't make them.
It's about jobs, but it's about more than jobs. It's about values. Do we care more about technology, about so-called progress, than about people? What are we doing as a country, as a society, to deal with the inevitable disruptions that AI will cause? Certainly not enough. We are now facing two looming crises, AI and climate change, and so far our response seems to be too little too late. But as incident after incident after incident piles up, public awareness and outrage is growing. We call upon government at all levels to slow this down, put people first, put the brakes on Waymo and Cruise. Thank you.
Pay the workers. On Labor Day, pay the workers a living wage. How about that?
Yeah.
Such a radical demand on Labor Day, a living wage. And like the actors and actresses and the writers, they want them to be gig workers. They want all workers to be gig workers. There's also an attack on city workers here in San Francisco. They're outsourcing millions and millions of jobs, of dollars worth of jobs. And Chris, you want to say a few words? San Francisco United, City Workers United. So welcome Chris, who's a painter with the city.
Well, I don't really know what to say too much, except we're in the battle. Our union's in the battle for our lives right now. We're in the middle of a bunch of corrupt individuals busting our union and stripping us of our bargaining rights. And I see this just as the beginning of eliminating good city jobs and replacing us with whatever else they want to replace us with, including AI or whatever they find in the future. So I'm out here to show my support to this cause, and I believe in it. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. And also the revolutionary poets are here with us here today. Karen is a poet, and she's going to do a little poetry for us. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, the only event for labor in the city. Wow. My poems start with a glimpse of history that reminds us how ignorance, power, and greed lead to death in societies.
Thank you.
Always have. I'm talking in this instance about Russia and China, who created through ignorance or malignance, unfeeling bureaucracy, unjustified rigidity, demanding of the farmer unscientific goals, resulting in infertile fields, resulting in wasted bodies, especially those of children. Death by famine, death by ignorance, death by a repugnance and a repudiation of science, death by unjustified punishment for speaking truth to power, idealism gone amok, creating its own social suicide, inevitable disease, inevitable cannibalism, massacres through starvation, bureaucratic execution of the people. And I go on, today, workers and the marginalized are threatened. Immigrants are threatened. Mobility is threatened. Healthcare, education, homes. We consider ourselves an enlightened society, and yet the privileged among us refuse workers essential benefits and even living wages. Allow robots to control our streets. Allow homelessness to expand upon those same streets, or sweep impromptu city villages away composed of tents or simply bodies. treating both people and possessions often as garbage. In spite of regulations to do otherwise, we remain self-righteous, considering ourselves the good guys, and yet repudiate our own ideologies, sometimes with greed, sometimes with thoughtlessness, sometimes with ignorance, forgetting that with power or wealth or privilege comes responsibility, comes the power to dominate, with that the power to change, the power to give hope, the power to be just, the power to be and help our workers be free. Thank you.
We talk about human rights and death in the streets of San Francisco. A pedestrian died in San Francisco, and they died because of the criminal negligence of the officials of the California Public Utility Commission, of the Department of Motor Vehicles, who are refusing to enforce the law, of Gavin Newsom, the governor, who apparently doesn't care if pedestrians die in San Francisco because he's allowing this company, Cruise, which is owned by GM, to block vehicles, to block emergency vehicles. As I said earlier, if you or I blocked an emergency vehicle, an ambulance, and somebody died as a result of that person not getting to the hospital soon enough, we would be charged criminally for manslaughter. We would be charged criminally. We're calling for the executives, the CEOs of Cruise GM, to be charged criminally for the death of that pedestrian. That's what the district attorney should be responsible for. Where is the district attorney? Why aren't they enforcing the laws? The city attorney could sue. I mean, the point is that I'm making is that this company is above the law. Waymo and Cruise are above the law. They don't have to follow the vehicular code. They're able to get away with violating it every day, and they're doing it illegally. They're doing this illegally, and we're saying they have to be held accountable. We're saying that these politicians have to shut it down. The police could have pounded these cars.
Well, good morning, San Francisco. My name is Ellen. I used to work for the government of San Francisco. As you may or may not know, we have 1,168 Christians, Catholics, and patriots who believe in America, who believe in freedom, get terminated, wrongfully terminated, because we do not believe in the bioweapon and experimental drug that is meant to depopulate our nation. We spoke the truth and we stood up. You all know, by law, like me, a public health worker, it is the patient's right not to accept an experimental drug. But yet the city lied to the public, set up all those tests, and force people, if you're not vaccinated, you cannot go to school. You're not vaccinated, you cannot go inside to eat. You're not vaccinated, you're not able to get a job. We have more than 2,000 government employees wrongfully terminated in 2022. Now, August 23rd, last month, Mayor Landon Breed and the Labor Department and Human Resources say there's no more mandate for the workers in San Francisco. Yet, they refuse to hire back the more than 2,000 wrongfully terminated government employees. That is including more than 200 police officers, sheriffs, bus drivers, public health workers, and many departments. These are the people understood that we in America, we had freedom, we have medical choice, we have constitutional rights. When we spoke out, we stood in the gap for all the people in San Francisco. So if you hear my voice, call the mayor, call the Labor Department, call the Human Resources, and tell them to rehire all the wrongfully terminated government employees. We did not do anything wrong other than we tell the truth, nothing but the truth. May God bless San Francisco. We need a city that is righteousness. We need a city that is coming back to common sense. For a mayor has no common sense giving our jobs to AI instead of the people who are working hard. Like Stephen said earlier, the AI driver has no feelings. They only censor certain weathers. if they're hailing, if they are foggy, if anything that is not able to see in the sensor, then the car gets stuck. If we have emergencies, the AI car may not able to move to a certain angles for the emergency car to bypass for the emergency car to go and save lives. We, the city, cannot be allowed all this big tech to overtaking the jobs from hundreds of drivers who are responsible for families. Our city needs a healthy city that is good for everyone. I'll give you an example. After Mayor London Breed wrongfully terminated more than 2,000 government employees, she used the money to contract people who are, some of them, they're not qualified. The HR lowered the standard to hire people. That put the public at risk. So we are here to ask you, protect San Francisco, protect your right as a United States citizen. Stand up for your rights. Stand up and make phone calls. And here we're giving a message to London Breed. You are wicked and you don't care about family. All you care right now is your wicked and unsafe city for all the people that we're in. I'm not sure if you know, every year for the last 3 years, each year we have 1,500 homeless people die on the street. You can verify it with the San Francisco Health Department. I personally going out on the street and outreach to the homeless during my time. Yet, do you know San Francisco spend an average $8,500 a month? $8,500 a month on one homeless a month? With this kind of money, we should not see any homeless dying on the street. Wake up, San Francisco. Wake up. Say something. When you see something that's not right, say something. God bless San Francisco. Thank you.
So on Labor Day, we're saying that the 2,000 workers that were fired illegally in San Francisco should be rehired. There's a shortage of public workers. Rehire these workers, because in Alameda County they did not fire workers who refused to take a vaccine. In Los Angeles County they did not fire workers who refused to take a vaccine. Why did that happen? And I think the members have something to ask of their union leadership. Why did their union leadership allow that to happen without a protest? If other cities protected employees, I took the vaccine, but I don't believe that people should be required to have a vaccine. People should have testing. They should be testing so they can protect the public and the bus drivers and others. But why should you be required to take a vaccine? In San Francisco, it was either take the vaccine or being fired. That's wrong. That's really terrible that they were faced. And those workers should get their jobs back now. Now, we're also going to have Jaber, who's a tech worker, talk about this issue, because we support tech workers. We support technology. The question is who should it benefit? That's really the question, and who should control it? Welcome.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here with you. Struggle over AI is something that we are not really prepared to fight, yet. We haven't really figured out what it's going to mean. There's all these people who think, we're gonna take the jobs, but then we're gonna give everyone a universal basic income, right? And this isn't actually. It sounds great, everyone's gonna have money. They're gonna have the bare minimum apparently, and there's gonna be robot workers that are doing all the hard work, right? That's the sort of dream that people are selling you. But this is like, we've shifted. This is a dream. This is an anti-worker dream. This is a dream of people who they hate doing work, right? It's a dream of people who just wish everything was done for them, right? And the only problem they have is that right now there are humans and they make less money than them, and humans get sad, and sometimes they feel sad, right? So if it was workers, they could exploit the workers, and if it was robot workers, they could exploit the robots and they wouldn't feel sad. That's the root of this sort of UBI drive, and I support the UBI, but this cannot be the context. We need to take control. We need to start to dictate what happens in this country, what happens across the world as workers. we need to make our own minds through discussion with our neighbors, with other workers. We need to come together and form a consensus outside of the two political parties, outside of the corporations, outside of the unions which get corrupted, which get tied to the Democratic Party machine.